Welcome to the 180 Podcast, where we tell the stories of real lives impacted by Jesus. Today, we're here with Jose Marin, a good friend and brother in the Lord. So welcome, Jose.
Pleasure to be here.
Good. Well, I'm excited to hear your story. We've been trying to get this on the books for a long time, and I've heard pieces of your story, but honestly, I haven't heard it from beginning to end. So this is exciting for me to hear. So I shared with you a little bit to start. Where we always start with guests is hearing their origin story, hearing the backstory of how childhood impacted your faith for the positive, or sometimes maybe there was no faith in the family, and it took God getting a hold of you in a different way. So maybe start there and tell me how God worked in your childhood.
So the earliest, first of all, I'm happy to be here, and I know we're busy, you're busy, I'm busy, but God just worked it out. So,
Amen.
the earliest memories I have as a child, I was never abused. I was never, I had a great childhood,
Nice.
I grew up in a very loving home. I had a single mother
Okay.
that did everything for us. She worked two jobs. She slept on the floor so we could sleep on the beds type mom, grandparents that were, the pretty much taking care of us while mom was out and about. I have four sisters that I grew up with,
Okay.
a little brother that came later on. But, I don't remember a lot of faith in my home.
Mm-hmm.
I remember we had a family Bible, right?
Okay.
And I grew up Catholic. I grew up in the Catholic religion. So, I remember us going to church on Sundays. One of my aunts used to take us to church. And I remember as a little kid, I used to look forward to these Sundays because my aunt used to buy us the little fruit cups after church. Sometimes we go here after church. But my mom, she wasn't really, not that she didn't love God or she didn't know about God. She was just always working, always trying to provide.
Sure.
My sisters, okay. So let me start from the very beginning. So I grew up in Los Angeles, California.
Okay.
I'm a Dodger baby.
That's right.
I'm an LA baby. Lakers, Dodgers, you name it. So we grew up in this neighborhood. It's not the greatest, South Central California, right?
Yeah.
And it was a little compound. It was like little apartments, and it was very, very tight knit. There was a lot of Hispanics back then in that area because the whole neighborhood was mostly black. Like it was just
Sure.
a horrible, violent, crime infested area.
South Central's well known for gang activity, and
Yes.
particularly back. What was this? 90s?
This was in the 80s.
80s.
So
yeah.
this was in the 80s. So I was born in 82. And I remember, I don't have a lot of memories in my, as a little kid, but I remember, growing up in these neighborhoods, it was like my mom's job to keep us safe.
Sure.
And I remember she would take me everywhere. I remember she'd take me to the welfare office. She'd take me to the grocery store. And she always had me on her hip because it was a really, really dangerous spot. And as a little boy getting raised by a woman, it wasn't the greatest for me. I didn't have a father to say, hey, Jose, don't do that. Hey, Jose, that's wrong. My mom would tell me these things, but something inside me was just, I wasn't listening. I don't know what it was. I wouldn't listen to my mom. Not that I hated my mom. It wasn't the same coming from a man.
Yeah.
And so my grandfather was in the picture, but my grandfather was just old school OG Mexican, hardly spoken, actually didn't speak no English. He was more of the discipline.
Sure.
If I didn't listen to my mom or if I disrespected my mom, I remember my grandpa would take his belt off literally and give me a good spanking,
yeah.
because I was a pretty bad kid. I wasn't doing all these drugs as a little kid, but I was just very disobedient. I didn't have any structure.
Yeah.
I didn't have any structure. So again, there was not a lot of faith in my family. And I don't think it's because, we hated God or we didn't know who God was. We knew who he was. We just didn't have the we didn't have anybody saying, "Hey, come to church with us."
Yeah, there was no family lineage of, faith in the family, so it was natural to not go.
Yeah,
And that's
yeah.
that's okay.
We went for funerals.
Sure.
We went for quinceañeras, right?
Yeah.
When we had a party,
Yeah.
the father would come over. We would go for again for weddings.
Yeah.
But other than that, it wasn't a thing. It
Yeah.
wasn't like hey, Sunday we got to get ready for church.
Right.
It was none of that.
So you talked about, single mom and, not that father figure, in the house. So obviously it sounds like that started some seeds of maybe disobedience as a young person. But then as you grow, sometimes that lack of a father figure continues to cause issues in maybe in your adolescence, and then as you get into preteen. So as you walk through your story, what does that no father figure look like for you?
So having a father, it was natural for me.
Sure.
I just didn't have a man in my life.
Yeah.
My mom was she was everything.
Yeah.
She was trying to discipline me, providing for me. So it was like it wasn't like I didn't feel like I needed a dad. It was just natural. Again,
Yeah.
grandpa was the discipliner, and if I needed to get whooped, I get whooped, and my mom would provide for me. So I had a lot of male influence in my life, though.
Sure.
I had cousins that were older, and in a way, I kind of looked up to them. I was still kind of young to understand the whole gang part of it.
Sure.
But I knew that they were involved in bad stuff. I knew they hung out with the guys drinking the 40s and smoking the drugs and doing the graffiti up on the walls. I knew they were part of that, but my mom was still very protective.
Yeah.
She wouldn't let me go hang out with them. I was
Yeah.
a baby.
Yeah.
And, so I have two cousins. One of them, his name is Clemente, and the brother, Ricardo,
Mm-hmm.
and they're blood brothers, mind you. They're blood. And I remember one of them used to be part of a neighborhood, gang.
Yep.
And that was 36th Street. And then another brother was a part of another gang, 52nd Street. And there were enemies.
Wow.
There were enemies, yeah. Blood.
Same family.
Same family. Same mom, right? Blood.
Wow.
But their gangs were rivals. And I remember it didn't make sense to me.
Yeah.
Right. But I thought it was cool, and I wanted to be part of that, even though I knew that it was causing division in the family, right?
Yeah.
In their family, it was they didn't live with me, but I knew about it and I would see it.
Yeah.
And so I really started taking a liking to one of my cousins. So one of my cousins at the age of 12, he got shot. And I remember me and my mom visiting him in the hospital. He literally got shot in the head. Somebody walked up to him and they never found out who it was. He just remembers he just blacked out. Somebody shot him point blank range, and the bullet came out. And I remember as a little kid seeing my cousin in this hospital, and he had these bandages around his head, and his head was swollen. It was super swollen. But I remember visiting him, and that gunshot didn't break his spirit. He was ready. He was planning, because I remember my mom left the room and me and my cousin were there, and I would hear him talk, and he was just angry and upset, and he was planning like retaliation. And I was like, wow, all right.
How old are you about this when this
I'm
happened?
like 6 or 7.
Okay, so
6
you're
or 7.
small.
Yeah,
You're still small.
he's about 11. My cousin's about 11 or 12.
Okay.
He's a kid.
Yeah.
And so I'm this is where I'm getting fed this negativity. Like I knew that my cousin got hurt, and I knew that my cousin was planning to hurt somebody else. And to me, I was getting that I was like, it was contagious.
Yeah.
I'm a little kid and I'm angry now. I don't know why, but I'm
Yeah.
angry because he's angry. So that's the male figures that I had in my life. They were gang members.
Yeah.
And they were my family. My mom didn't really know too much about the gangs either. It's just part of life over there in LA, especially in South Central LA.
Oh yeah.
I remember as a kid too, my cousins, my aunts, and all my little cousins. I remember my mom used to take us to to Burger King or like just for little walks, but we go in groups because it was dangerous out there.
Yeah.
I remember another childhood memory was that same cousin that got shot in the head. I remember, he was on his way to Foot Locker, and he was excited because he was going to go buy a pair of tennis shoes, right? And again, I couldn't go with him because he was gonna take the public transportation. He was gonna take the bus.
Yeah.
And I remember waking up from a nap and just screaming, my cousin screaming, and I'm like, "What's going on?" Come to find out, some dude at the bus station like tried to rob my cousin, and my cousin got in a fight with this guy, and the guy pulled out a knife, and the guy ended up getting stabbed with his own knife. So my cousin pretty much stabbed him with his own knife,
Yeah.
and he ran away, came home, came to my mom's house, and I remember my cousin, telling my mom, telling my aunt like what happened, and I don't really know how the police got involved, but somebody called the police, and I
Yeah.
remember the police being there, and I'm just watching, and my cousin getting handcuffed, my cousin full of blood, and my cousin screaming at his mom like, "Please don't do this." And so I was getting traumatized as this kid, right? I'm like,
Yeah.
"What's going on? Why is my cousin getting put in handcuffs and getting dragged out of here?"
Yeah.
So as a kid, and there was nobody there to explain this to me.
Yeah.
Like, hey,
Mom was doing the best she could.
she was trying to protect me,
Yeah.
providing, but she never really sat me down and say, "Hey, your cousin did a bad thing,
Right.
your cousin's involved with this. He's involved with the wrong people, and this is
Right.
what happened." I just kind of like had to figure it out on my own,
Yeah.
and so again, the father figure for me was not a good one.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Doesn't it? It shows us how important a male figure is, or somebody that's going to lead well. So you think about the family, right?
Yeah.
And you think about your kids now,
yeah. Oh my
right?
goodness.
And how they're looking to you,
Yes, yes,
whether you're aware of it or not. They're watching,
yes,
they're listening, and praise God, you're at a point where there's a positive influence
yes,
most of the time.
yes. No, I have a little 5-year-old, and I can't even say stupid.
Yeah.
She goes, "Dad, it's a bad word. You owe me a quarter." She says,
But think about what you just said. Nobody was telling you, don't do that.
"Yeah,
But she clearly knows,
she knows."
don't do that.
At 5,
Right.
at 5.
So praise God, right? That lineage that was instilled in you, the negative lineage,
Yeah.
has been broken,
Yes,
right?
yes.
And that's the power of God, right?
Ooh.
Just basic, like we're just talking, we're just getting started,
Yeah,
right?
yeah,
But just that basics of you committing your life to Christ, and your mom did the best she could,
yes,
but there wasn't we talk about identity a lot, or the foundation of Christ, right?
yeah.
Since that wasn't there, she didn't know how to influence you in that spiritual, godly way. She was just doing her best.
It was survival.
Right. But now you do have that identity in Christ.
Yes.
You do have that foundation. So when life falls apart, when life, as I like to say, proverbial punches you in the face, you've got a foundation to settle to.
Yes,
You don't continue to spiral,
yes.
right?
Agreed.
You don't run to the cousin who's into bad things for an identity. You run to your Heavenly Father.
Yes,
Right. So
Yes.
that's the beauty of what I'm seeing, and in just I fast forwarded the story a little bit, so that's I just want people to hear the difference between upbringing without that identity, without that spiritual foundation. And honestly, without knowing it, you were craving structure.
It
You were
was.
craving an identity, and the lack of God, you were seeking it in the other male figures that were around you.
Yeah.
Strong men. They were strong, right?
Yeah.
They had a masculine voice.
Yeah.
They weren't using it in the right way.
Yeah.
But it was attractive to a young person.
Yeah.
Man, look at the influence.
I was hungry for something.
Mm-hmm.
And again, growing up, my mom used to put us kids, because again, there was 4. It was 5. It was 5. I'm a middle child too. I got 2 older and 2 younger sisters, and I'm in the middle. And so I remember my mom, my sisters, every like Christmas, everything. I don't know how she would do it, but birthday parties, right? Cakes, gifts, right? I mean, it wasn't like big and luxurious, but we had something every year. And so again, I don't blame my mom for anything, right?
No.
She blames herself though. She did. For a long time she blamed herself. I remember one day she cried and she was crying to me. She goes, "I'm sorry. I failed you." And I was like thinking about it. I'm like, "No, you didn't," you know? But she was so upset with herself for failing me,
Right.
right? Because like all my other sisters, they did pretty good. They did well. They weren't, I mean, they had their struggles too,
Sure.
but I was the one that was off the hook,
Yeah.
you know, and I used that too. I used that middle child, you know,
Oh, yeah.
I used it like, oh, well, I'm not getting any of the attention. My sisters are getting all the nice stuff. My sisters are getting big parties. I'm getting like nothing. I used that to
Right.
feed to justify my bad behavior.
Yeah.
You know, and as a grown man now, as an adult, I think about my life, and I'm like, I was really doing that.
Yeah.
I was just a kid. I didn't know what I was doing, but now as a grown man, I was using all that to feed my to justify my bad behavior.
Yeah.
And it was just crazy.
Yeah. So as you're walking through, you know, this is, I mean, you have some experiences at 6, 7, 8 that are, I would say, traumatic, that
Yeah.
are majorly impactful from a negative perspective. Walk into maybe the next, you know, area of your life, you know, that preteen area.
So in 1989, my mother moved us all out of Los Angeles.
Okay.
She again, I'm just a kid, so
Yeah.
you know, I go where we go.
That's right.
And so we literally packed up and moved from Los Angeles, California, north to San Jose. I don't remember having any family up there. Again, I just said, okay, we're going to San Jose, right?
Yeah.
I didn't even know where San Jose was. I just thought Jose, right? That's my name. Right? So we moved to San Jose, 1989, and we moved into these apartments. And these apartments seemed a lot nicer than where we just came from,
Sure.
right? But at the end, and inevitably, like little by little, family started trickling north with us. So I don't want to say it was us that pioneered our way up, but you know, within a couple of months, my aunt came, the mother of my two cousins, the cousins
Yeah.
that I look up to. So guess what? My cousins are living in the same apartments now. So you know, again, and it's just, of course, everybody. I mean, I love LA, but LA's not the nicest place, at least where we were living.
Sure.
And so, you know, I get where my mom came from. I get where my aunt came from. She wanted to get us out. They wanted to get us out of
Yeah.
there because it's just.
They were trying to protect you in that. Sure.
And so now we're living in San Jose, 1989, and you know, these apartments that we lived in. Again, I'm getting a little older, so now I'm getting a little smarter, and it was. I remember my mom yelling, you know, when the sun would go down, "Hey, it's time to come in," because we'd be running around the apartments, you know, playing marbles, riding bikes and stuff.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I'm like watching the gang members again. So with my cousins coming up, you know, they right away they gravitated towards the gang members up north, and there was gang members all over San Jose.
Yeah.
And so these apartments, they were already getting rent. They already had gangs there. So when my cousins got involved with them, they were all around us again. So my mom's trying to move away from this, but again, it's just it was in the family.
Yeah.
You know, my cousins were deeply in gangs, and
Yeah.
so the environment that we moved from it was the same environment up north. It really was.
Yeah.
It was just a different area.
Sadly, what your mom tried to move you out of followed, and just started to repeat, you know, the same cycle.
Just in San Jose.
Yeah.
So I remember in San Jose, California, I was there for you know, the big earthquake that you know, when the Bay Bridge cracked. I remember we were there for that. That was, I mean, I'm from LA. Being from LA, I remember a whole bunch of earthquakes, but that one was kind of like the craziest one.
Loma Prieta. Yeah. Right. I think that was it.
Yeah, it was something that I've never experienced still to the day.
Oh yeah.
And so we moved to San Jose, and you know, again, things are getting worse. I'm going to school. I'm staying out of trouble still. You know, I'm just doing the normal little kid thing. But my mom eventually, I mean, we didn't even last there about a year because my mom said, no, this ain't gonna work either. So we went from San Jose, California. Now we went a little south to Modesto, California.
Oh yeah.
Ceres. So in Ceres, California, my mom had another little apartment, But again, the family from San Jose, boom, you know. And again, it's I love my family, I really do.
Yeah.
You know, there's nothing, you know, you can't change your family,
Yeah.
but my family, we have a huge family, and so we kind of split. So half of them stayed in Los Angeles, and then half of them came up north. But everywhere I went, my cousins were there, and I looked up to my cousins. I love my cousins. So
Sure.
one of my cousins, when we finally moved to Ceres, he kind of just left all the gang stuff behind. He's just
Got
started.
tired of it.
He started working. He started being a little bit more responsible. But then my other cousin, the one that got shot in the head, that's the one that kind of went in deeper and crazier. And he started going to jail. He started going to prison. And so when he started going to prison, coming out of prison, so now I'm getting a little older, and now he's coming out with prison tattoos and stories from prison. And I'm
Yeah.
like, again, I don't. My mom. So my mom, she never brought any man around us. She never said, "Hey guys, this is my new boyfriend. Hey guys, this is your," you know.
Yeah.
So again, all these years, I never had somebody sitting me down trying to show me anything.
Yeah.
Male figure. So when my cousin would come out of prison, I remember he'd sit down and he'd tell me his stories. And I just sat there and just took it all in.
Oh, yeah.
And I was like, wow, really?
Some people hear hunting and fishing stories, and you're hearing, you know,
Stabbings,
yeah,
right? Stabbings.
gang life and
And
prison
then-
life. Yeah.
And I'm like asking him about these tattoos. What does they mean? What do they mean? And you know, every tattoo has meaning. And he's like explaining this to me. So I'm getting schooled up, you know, without even knowing it. He wasn't doing it on purpose. He wasn't trying to recruit me or nothing like that. I'm just his little cousin that looks up to him.
You're impressionable at that age.
Very, very. So from Ceres, California, you know, again, we're all in elementary school. We're all doing our thing. My mom's still working. Like my mom was a working mom.
Yeah.
Like she was always providing, always working. And she was really good at it too. She's still a really good cook. So she was working at these restaurants and just making money for all of us to survive. I remember food stamps. We had it all. You know, we general assistance.
Yeah.
And so I'm still really young though. I'm still very, very naive. I don't really know too much about gangs. And so in the 90s, so this was in the 90s, 91, 92. I believe in 92 from Ceres, we went about 15 miles to this town of Modesto. And that's where the family first purchased a home, right? So now there's no more rent. Now it's like a mortgage, and now we're rooted. We're planting roots now.
Yeah.
And this neighborhood, I mean, I remember walking into this home, and we went from Los Angeles from South Central. I remember cockroaches. I remember sleeping on the floor, you know, feeling mice crawl on me in the middle of the night, and me just being like super scared, not wanting to move because I didn't want to get bit. To walking into it was a mansion to me.
Yeah.
It was a 2-story home, stairs, right? I remember running up and down the
Thought you
stairs.
hit the lottery.
Dude, it was crazy. The house was empty, so I remember the echoes. I still remember the echoes.
Yeah.
And so I was like, we made it. You know, as a little kid, I was like, okay, we made it. We're not poor anymore. You know, we're gonna do something now.
Yeah.
But again, you know, the sad truth was that nothing changed. You know,
Yeah.
nothing changed. We just had a house now. We just had a house. Little Jose's growing up, right? Little Jose's growing up. His cousin's still going in and out of prison, right? His cousin's still coming around. I'm still looking up to my cousin. So again, it was kind of like a family business.
Yeah.
You know, my cousin, he was doing this thing, and he kept getting locked up, coming out, and he kept. My mom loved him. My mom loved him to death. Like, you know, we're a really tight family. So, you know, when his mom would kick him out, say, "Hey man, you ain't doing, get out of here," he'd go to my house. You know, and so it was about the year 92, and I remember my cousin picking me up one time, and you know, we're my grandpa was in the hospital. My cousin went to go visit my grandpa, and my mom's like, "Hey, well, can you take Jose home, because he's been here all day with me?" And so I remember I'm in the back seat of my cousin's car, and my cousin's in the passenger, and his girlfriend's driving the car. And this is first time that I ever saw like hard drug use with my own two eyes.
Mm.
So again, this is my cousin, and I see him go into the center console. He pulls out a CD, and he pulls out some powder, and he puts it on that CD, and I'm watching, and I'm like, wow, what is he doing? And you know, I see him make his little lines. I see him sniff it, and I'm like mesmerized by this. Right? Again, I'm just a kid. I don't know what's going on.
Yeah.
But you know, whatever he was doing was making them into a different person. It was making them just like he felt like I saw that he looked like He-Man and he felt like Superman. So again, I'm just this little kid. Now I'm curious.
Yeah.
I'm curious. So now I remember he went into the house and I go, hey, I'll go in there in a minute. And I went into the center console and I just kind of looked, right? And I remember he had a gun in there and he had the drugs in there. And you know, I was just like, wow, okay. Just a kid being curious.
Yeah.
And so we're in Modesto, California. I remember you know, going to school. I was all right in school. I wasn't too much of I didn't really care for school, you know.
Yeah.
And it wasn't because I was stupid or anything. I just didn't like the getting up in the morning, none of that. And I remember one of my best friends. I started making friends now. So now I'm in school and I'm making friends. And I remember one of my good friends. You know, he invited me over to his house, and I was like, all right, let's go check it out. And I went to his house, and his families are all gang members too. So yeah, so now I'm like getting more fed more,
Right.
you know. And so, but the thing was, it was crazy because so we're from the South, right? We're from LA, and then so my buddy, he's from the North. So all his cousins, now his brothers, were like rivals to my cousin. So
Oh, dear.
yeah, so now I'm like, okay, this don't seem right? They're wearing they're wearing different colors. They're talking differently. They got different tattoos. And so I remember I told my cousin one day about my friend's family, and he said, hey, you can't be with those people. And I was like, what do you mean? He's my friend.
Yeah. You didn't know anything.
He was just my buddy, right?
Yeah.
And but I remember my cousin looking at me straight in the eye, and he goes, they're not like us. And I'm like, I didn't get it, you know. But later on I got it, right? You know, he in his way he was trying to school me up, but you know, I wasn't trying to be a gang member. I wasn't trying to become a gang member. I was just a kid being a kid.
Yeah.
Right? So again, but I listened to my cousin because I love him so much. So when next time I got invited to that friend's house, I said no because I didn't want to be part of that.
Yeah.
I invited him over, and then that would work better. But even then, look at now I'm like around 10 years old. Yeah, 92. Yeah, I was born in 82. So now I'm 10 years old. So now I'm getting a little older now.
Yeah.
And so still no church, right? Still no, hey, Jesus loves you,
Yeah.
right? Nobody ever sat me down and said, hey, Jesus loves you. Jesus has a plan for your life.
All you knew at that point was a product of your environment.
And
right.
and I was getting shaped.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's you know, something I've talked about before with people is the inputs we get into our life shape us.
Yeah.
Good or bad.
And again,
Right.
it's when it's your family, you know, it's not that my cousin was a horrible person or an evil person. He wasn't trying to hurt me.
No.
But he was shaping me.
Yeah.
He really was.
Maybe not intentionally, but as you know, you fast forward to when you have spiritual knowledge and we understand that we are all deceitfully wicked in our heart.
Yeah.
And that was just coming out.
Yeah.
Of your cousin.
Yeah.
Right. It's just the natural inclination that we have is to do ungodly things.
Yeah.
And that's all he was doing. He was exercising the natural man.
Yeah.
He was living for himself, doing what he thought best, even though it was technically evil. The intention wasn't to turn you evil.
No.
But the reality is you had that inside of you.
Yes.
I have that inside of me. And he was feeding it without knowing it.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah. So you're 10 coming into, you know, again, seeing all this stuff, start to get towards, I mean, that's not quite junior high yet, but let's hear kind of how that continues to progress.
So at 11 years old, I remember My cousin used to live. Now he moved in with us. He lived with us, and so I remember, we went on this walk. It was me, my cousin, my two stepbrothers. And then so by then, no, they were gonna be my future stepbrothers.
Gotcha.
They were. My mom was talking to this man, right,
Yeah.
working with this man,
Sure.
but they weren't a thing yet. But he had two sons, and we used to hang out a lot.
Okay.
But now it's all of us. It's a little group, and we're young. We're 11,
Yeah.
And I remember my cousin saying, "Hey, do you want to be part of the gang?" At 11 years old, and I was like, "Wow, what does that? What does that mean?" I was thinking that. I didn't tell him. I wasn't trying to sound like a punk,
Yeah.
But I'm 11 now. I'm trying to be cool,
Yeah.
And so at 11 years old, he started grooming me. Now it got real,
Right.
because he started to see that I was getting interested in this lifestyle, and he started grooming me, and he started telling me, like, look, this is what we're about. You can't go with them. You got to be with us. And again, I loved him so much that I was willing to give my life for him, even as a little kid. And you know, I remember at 11 years old, my cousin, he punched me one day. He just punched me, sucker punched me, boom, and I was like, "What's going on?" I'm a little kid. He's a grown man. Oh, he's a teenager.
Yeah.
And he just gave me this whooping. He just whooped me. He goes, "That's what you got to look forward to. That's what's gonna happen. This is what we're about. You got to be ready." I was like, "Wow, I didn't understand it." I remember I couldn't breathe.
Yeah.
And he goes, "I love you. Just know that." He goes, "I love you." And that's crazy because my mom hasn't even heard this story.
Yeah.
Yeah, but he and I believed him. I know he loved me.
Well, and again, no father figure, to hear someone loves you, right?
Yeah.
Is important to a young man.
Yeah.
Right. As much as we want to hide our feelings and everything, that's meaningful to
Yeah.
you, even though your cousin was misdirected, right?
Yeah.
In his ways, hearing that as a young boy, there's something attractive,
Yeah.
about that.
And so again, I believed him, and I remember going home, and I was still kind of confused of why he would hit me. Like, why would he hit me that hard?
Yeah.
And so but after I took that whooping, because I didn't cry, I didn't go tell my mom,
Yeah.
I didn't go tell anybody. I just took it,
Yeah.
But after that, he saw, like, okay, he's with it. So
Yeah.
he treated me a little different. He started, like, giving me a little bit more trust, you might
Mhm.
want to say, because he started telling me some stories, and plans and this and that. I would hear him talk,
He wasn't hiding stuff from
yeah,
you. Right?
exactly.
Yeah.
He was like going full force, and my cousin's deceased now, he's gone. So, you know, I can say anything I want about him, because
Yeah.
he's not gonna go to jail or nothing. But I remember as a kid, him telling me this stuff, it didn't scare me,
Mm.
and usually, uh, I've seen in my own life now as a man, I've seen kids, we tell them something, or we ask them to do something, and they get scared and they'll leave.
You can scare him straight.
Exactly. I
Yeah.
I, I kind of like loved it. I kind of just wanted more. I wanted more, and again, because I didn't have somebody saying, "Hey, that's wrong.
Yeah.
You're gonna get in trouble, right? You're gonna get shot. You're gonna get stabbed." Um, I just craved it, and so I remember my cousin. He kept again. It was the same cycle with him going in and out of prison, and so now I'm heading to junior high. I'm 12 years old, right? I'm seventh grade,
Yeah.
and I remember in seventh grade, my friend that I was going to his house, and he was coming to my house.
Yeah.
Now we couldn't go to each other's houses because in seventh grade is when everything changed. In seventh grade, there was like a choice to be made.
Mm.
He was a gang member now.
He became the enemy.
He became with his family.
Yeah.
He started wearing the colors. He started talking like they did, and I started doing the same thing.
Yeah.
I started wearing the colors. I started talking like my cousin. I started we chose sides pretty much.
Yeah.
So here we are, best friends in elementary school, and now in junior high, everybody's just there's all these little cliques, there's all these little gangs, and so I went my way, he went his way,
Mm.
and so in junior high, it's a way bigger school, and now you meet more people like you,
Mhm.
right? And I remember people they used to call us little gang members. And then, you know what? One day it just said, like, I guess I am a gang member,
Mm.
even though I wasn't part of a gang yet.
Yeah.
But people started treating us like gang members, and I liked it. I liked it. I liked that people thought that I was like the bad kid and the bad seed. It fed me more.
Yeah.
It fed my ego, my little ego.
It became your identity.
And exactly. And so I remember as a kid in junior high, my mom would get called to the school. You need to come pick up your son. And I remember my mom just crying to the principal, like, I don't know what to do with him. He won't listen to me. And I'm just like, Mom, are you done yet? Just
Yeah.
being like a little punk kid,
Yeah.
And I remember my mom, we'd walk home because we lived like 2 blocks away from school. And then my mom would light up a cigarette and she'd just be like stressed, right? And I remember one day I took the cigarette from her and I took a puff. And she looked at me all crazy, right? But she didn't tell me nothing. She didn't say, hey, don't do that. What are you doing? I remember I took the cigarette, I took a puff, and then she took it back, obviously. But she never like said, hey, don't do that. What's wrong with you? And that was the beginning of the relationship with me and my mom, where my mom started getting fearful, that her little boy is not a little boy anymore.
Yeah.
Her little boy's a little punk. And, the spankings didn't work anymore. There was a day where my mom said, you know what? Spanking doesn't work. The discipline is not working. She pretty much gave up on me, like the discipline part of it.
Yeah.
At the age of 12, when I was in junior high, I remember she just stopped.
Yeah.
And so that gave me free reign.
Free reign. Yeah.
Free reign. Again, this whole time, my sisters, again, I love all my sisters. I put them through heck, I
Yeah.
put them through some bad stuff. And they stuck with me though. I remember they were tried too. They love on me. And
they avoided the lifestyle.
they avoided the lifestyle themselves.
Mm-hmm.
But I remember, and again, I don't want her to, because she's gonna listen to this. I don't want her to think that it was her fault either. But I remember, my older sister, she was dating like this guy too in L.A. and same thing, right? Gang member, nice truck, right? The clothes, the music, and it attracted me to that.
Yeah.
And then so they stayed away from it. They chose their husbands though. They all have a past.
Mm-hmm.
Their husbands now, they have a past, and sure. A little bit is gang related, but they all stayed away from it. They went to school, right? They graduated.
Yeah.
And they're all doing well right now, and they were doing good then. They all started their families really young.
Yeah.
Right. Really young. But they just kind of let me be too. They weren't trying to like get in my way. They weren't trying to discipline me, because they I don't know. I feel like they just didn't see the point,
Yeah, and look, there's a couple of examples here, right? So it's important, I think, for us to look at what parenting looks like absent of God and what parenting looks like with God.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So your mom, again, her desire was right. She wanted to protect you from it. She just didn't know how, right? She tried to get you away from your cousins, but your cousin kept coming. She loved the cousin. She let the cousin live with you, right? And there's probably an internal struggle even within her. Like, yeah. I love this boy, but I know he's not a good influence, right? And so but without God being the center, mm-hmm. it's impossible to guide somebody in the right way, mm-hmm. right? So they do the best they can. Even your sisters, it's not their responsibility to raise you. Mm-mm. It's not their responsibility to keep you away from things. They can have a positive influence, but ultimately, you're making decisions, at that age, poor decisions, right?
Yes.
And going down a path. So again, I want parents to hear what you do matters, right? Parents are watching, kids are watching, and father figures matter, right? Father's leading in the home And if you're a single mom, mom's leading in the home.
Mhm.
Well, right, centered on Christ makes that impact.
Yes.
If there's not a father in the home, then the heavenly Father is that substitute,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
So yeah, that's just, I wanted to pause there and just like some of the things, I heard. I mean, I can tell you have tremendous respect for your mom
Mhm.
and love her to death, and she did as best she could, and ultimately, look, what was inside of you came raging out,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And that's, again, at some point we have to take responsibility for what we do. It becomes not somebody else's issue.
Yeah.
It becomes ours. We made those decisions.
Yes.
Now, look, I can see some bad behaviors in my children that are a direct result of
Yeah.
of me,
Yeah.
right? Every once in a while, I cringe and go, "Ooh, that's me."
Yeah.
That comes out in my son or my daughter, right?
Yeah.
So there's some parental responsibility that we have to own,
Own up. Yeah.
right? Okay, so yeah, you're good. Yeah, so now at junior high, you're fully immersed.
Yes.
Yeah,
So-
you've chosen sides. So keep walking down that path. What is
So in junior high, again, I remember I just I wouldn't apply myself because school wasn't cool. So I remember the little homies were waiting for me every morning. Right, every morning we get together, we smoke our little cigarette, we go into class, or we were just kids being kids. And I remember though things started getting pretty real though in junior high, violent. You know, I would see fist fights, and I would see knives getting pulled out, and then eventually I started seeing guns getting pulled out. Nobody would ever pull the trigger on these guns, right? Because we were just kids, right? They use them for like intimidation.
mm-hmm.
But I remember now that opened up a whole nother world for me, right? Okay, this is getting real. Like if I'm gonna be doing this, I really got to get with it. And what I meant by that, it was like I need to protect myself. So I used to carry this little knife, and I thought that I would be protected, right? But I remember like my cousin stabbing that guy with his own knife, right?
Yeah.
So I remember being scared, even carrying this knife.
Yeah.
Here I'm carrying it for protection, but at the same time I'm scared that somebody's gonna kill me with my own knife. So in junior high, I remember teachers. I mean, look at I'm so grateful for teachers now, like super grateful. One of my nieces is a teacher because teachers tried, they tried to talk to me, and they tried to do their job.
Yeah.
They tried to, show me things, and they tried to talk to me. Hey, what's going on at home? And again, it's not like there wasn't anything bad going on at my house.
Yeah.
Right. I wasn't like afraid to go home because I was going to get whooped. I wasn't afraid to go home because I was going to get abused.
That was probably the safest place for you.
It was, but again, it was just me making my bad choices and my bad decisions as a kid.
Yeah.
And again, my mom was working.
Yeah. She was working hard to try to put food on the
She was
table.
working, and all my other sisters had their own lives going on now too,
Mhm.
right? They all had their own. Everybody had something going on.
Yeah.
But what I had going on was no good. It was just trouble,
Yeah.
pretty much, literally just trouble. And so junior high comes along. It goes quick, right? It goes quick because now, I'm freshman. I'm a freshman now. I'm a freshman, and I remember my first day of school in high school, right? This in Modesto High. It's like one of the oldest schools there, and I remember showing up, and I'm like thinking, man, this place looks like a prison, right? Because it's like all concrete, and
Yeah.
I remember my first day of school. I'm walking. I'm trying to go to my class, right? I got my little schedule, and I remember just somebody hitting me in the back of the neck, and my body went limp, and I just fell. And there was two rival gang members that knew about me and knew who I was, and I was like late for class. I was like the last one in the hallway, so they got me. They beat me up on my first day of school, So I remember I got up and I didn't go to school. I just left. Because I was like, man, I just got whooped. And I went to my buddy's house that used to live around the corner, and he's like, what happened? And again, this is all the male figure, right? And his name was Jose. And I told him what happened, and he goes, "Well, that's not gonna fly." So I remember the next day he drove me to school in his he had a really nice car, and he drove me to school, and he says, "Who did it?" And I pointed him out to my buddy,
Yeah.
and he goes, "Okay, don't worry about it." And again, you know, I don't know what he did, but he did something, right? He did something because those guys left me alone, right? One of the guys didn't go back to school, because he was so scared. Because again, here is this other guy that I was gravitating towards,
Yeah.
right? Because by then my cousin was already passed away.
Mm.
My cousin Matt passed away. He died in a car crash.
Okay.
And that was also traumatizing for me too. My cousin's gone.
Yeah. The person you look up to,
Yeah.
no matter how misguided. Yeah.
I remember it's been a long time, but I remember talking to him on the phone, He's I'm on my way home. All right. He never made it home, he got in a wreck. And it messed me up, my male figure is gone,
Yeah.
And so I just like we were talking, like I just craved attention. So I gravitated towards these other guys, and these guys were just like my cousin, if anything worse.
Yeah.
And so there was this one guy, his name was Jose, just like me, and he just took me under his wing. I'm what, 13, 14 maybe, and he took me under his wing. And and what I mean by that is, like, I remember he took me to the mall one time, and again, I'm just a kid, and I don't have any money, I don't have any job, I'm not selling no drugs. And he took me to the mall, and he says, "What do you need?" I'm like, "What do you mean?" He goes, "Well, what do you need? What do you want?" And I'm like, he was serious. I remember he pulled out this big old wad of cash, and he's over here, so we're like back to school shopping, but no back to school, whatever I wanted, right? Because my mom wasn't buying me no gang clothes. My mom wasn't buying me no gangster shoes.
Right.
So I remember he took me to this on the shopping spree, and he said, "Hey, well, get another one, get two. Hey, you like that? Get another one." I was like, wow. Years later, he was grooming me.
Yeah.
He was grooming me. He was doing what he knew best, was love on me, because there was
You have an obligation to him.
exactly. So now I couldn't tell him no. I didn't want to tell him no.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? He wasn't like being violent or forceful towards me, or demanding. Anything he needed, I was there.
Yeah.
Anything.
He's a master in marketing.
It was
Right. He knew what triggers or what levers to pull for a young, impressionable kid. And that was stuff. And you would have done anything for him.
anything. And so now I'm getting older, I'm getting wiser in the streets, right? And this is where it got really ugly, because now he's giving me drugs to sell. So now I got drugs, and curious.
And this is high school.
This is high. I'm a
Still
freshman.
freshman.
I'm a freshman. So now, well, let me back up a little bit. So when right before my cousin passed away, I remember he asked me. It was New Year's Eve, and he said, "Hey, you want to try this?" And I said, "Yeah, of course." And I remember he pulled out a bag, and he put a straw in there, and he put it up to my nose. He goes, "Just wait till I say when." And I didn't know. I just went for it, and I did almost the whole bag. I remember vomiting. I was throwing up all over the place. It was something I've never experienced, and it was one of the craziest drugs and experiences I've ever experienced in my life. I was like a teenager.
Yeah.
I was like 12 or 13.
Yeah.
And so, so I got really, really high. I was high for like so many days. And so that first high was the high that I chased from there on.
Mm.
So, I wasn't getting high after that. I was like, oh man, that was crazy.
Yeah.
So, all that stuff happened. He ended up passing away. I went to high school, and then I started selling drugs for this guy now.
Yeah.
He wasn't giving me drugs to pay him back. He was like, here, make some money. So, I was selling drugs here and there, but the reality is, drug dealers don't make money, especially if you start doing your own drugs. So I started experimenting with it. I
Mm.
started doing a little bit, and it was meth. It was methamphetamines, and so it got me, hooked me. Like, I don't know how to explain it. I'm sure people that are been addicted know what I'm talking about,
Yeah.
but it was just
Had to have it.
the drug that I saw my cousin do in that car was the same drug that I'm selling and that I'm experimenting with. The way that I saw my cousin feel
Yeah.
and act is the way that I was feeling and that I was acting.
Yeah.
And so in deep down, I was like, well, I'm just like him now.
Right.
I get it now. And so, I wasn't too much again, I wasn't a good drug dealer because I was doing drugs, right? But I was the life of the party. Everywhere I went, there was the drugs. Boom, boom, boom. Everybody
Right.
had drugs. And so, slowly but surely, things started getting more serious, because this guy, he started bringing more family from down south, and I started meeting more people. Like these people were really, it's just like in the movies, right? There's a couple movies out there and, Hollywood, but you know what? There's a lot of truth to that.
Yeah.
But those movies don't talk about the price you got to pay for all that, the prison and the broken families and just the death. But I started seeing these guys in Suburbans, Cadillacs, right? I'm not even messing around, like military grade machine guns, and I'm like, wow, I want this. I said, this is what I want. I'm a teenager now, so I knew that this was what I wanted, and so I was at their beck and call. Anything they needed, I was there. And I remember, this is when I got jumped into the neighborhood. So the neighborhood is the gang, right? And so uh, all these guys came from the Los Angeles area to the north, and they brought this gang with them. And I don't want to glorify too much of the gang, right? Because
Yeah.
I just want to talk about like all this stuff because it's part of my story.
Yeah.
Because when God got a hold of me, He got a hold of me.
That's right.
But
But this shows how deep you were and how big of a rescue that God made.
and I see it now
Right.
because I should be dead or in prison, right? So now I'm hanging out with these guys. I'm not even going to school anymore. I'm doing like independent studies because no matter what school I went to, I was just getting kicked out. I wasn't going. So now I went to independent studies. I wasn't even doing the work. My sisters were doing the work for me, and I was just turning it in. It was. I love them for that.
They were just trying to get you graduated.
Yeah, exactly. And so now, I'm seeing some serious stuff now, and I I I remember getting caught in this shooting one time. I'm just standing outside. Me and my buddy are just standing outside, and I started hearing like bullets flying, hitting the tree behind me. I was like, "What's going on?" My buddy grabbed me and he pulled me to the ground. He goes, "We're getting shot at." That was the first time I've ever experienced something like that. And to me directly, they were trying to kill me, and I didn't know who it was. I didn't know where the shots came from, but I was angry now. I was angry, and I remember again my cousin plotting in that hospital, like I'm gonna get them. This was gonna happen. I remember feeling all those feelings, and then I started sounding just like my cousin. We're gonna find out who they were. We're gonna go get them, right? And so it's here I am now. I'm building all this hate inside of me, right?
Mhm.
And I don't even know who these people are,
Yeah.
right? All I know is that they're rivals, right? That they're wearing the wrong colors and they got different tattoos than I do, and so I have this hate inside of me, and it's festering, right? And it's festering, and I remember, people start dying, right? My some of my friends start getting shot, right? I start I start seeing people get shot. I mean, you know, people the Charlie what's his
Charlie
name?
Kirk.
Yeah, that video, right? I watched the video and it triggered something inside of me because I seen something exactly like that in my life, and it's the first time I'm talking about it. But I see one of my buddies get shot just like that in this front porch, and the same exact reaction that Charlie had, just exactly how it went down. It just took me back to those the stoop that I was sitting on because I remember my buddy bleeding out like that and his mom coming and trying to cover the hole and she's just screaming. screaming, and she's screaming at me like, "Do something!" And I'm just a kid. I don't know. There's no cell phones back then.
Yeah.
And I remember just this mom holding her son's neck, as he's dying on the street, on the curb.
Yeah.
And it triggered that in me that day that I saw that video. And I don't want to watch that video ever again,
Yeah.
First of all, because of who he was and what happened, but
Yeah.
it triggered something in me that I didn't want to have, that I don't want to deal with anymore.
Yeah. Yeah.
But
our memories are powerful.
yeah, it was
You
crazy.
know?
But things started getting real now. People are dying. People are getting hurt. There's guns involved. There's I'm not even joking. Like I saw a guy he had a grenade. He had a pineapple grenade. I'm like, what the heck's going on here? So things started getting real in my life. And again, so now I'm still a teenager. I'm still looking up to these guys slowly but surely. A lot of these guys start going to prison. And so I was the one that was left out there running the show, kind of. Well, me and my little homies, me and my little friends, because all these older guys are going to prison for a very long time.
Yeah, and you're still in high school. Well, high school age, not going to high school, but high school age.
And so I remember the day I got jumped into the neighborhood. All my friends, they, we were having the party, and my friends that I really love and respected, and started whooping on me. And I'm like, wow. And these guys, and I'm a kid. I'm a scrawny kid, and these were grown men. And there's no way you can fight back.
Yeah. This is worse than when your cousin.
Well, and now I know though my cousin was getting me ready because he says this was gonna happen someday. He was getting me ready, and so there was 3 men, grown men, whooping on me, and I remember I couldn't take the hands off my face because I didn't want my face to get hit, right? And I remember my big friend, he hit me so hard, even though I had my hand over my face, he hit me so hard, I felt my eye go like a balloon, just swelled up. And so I get up, and all these guys that are whooping on me are hugging me now. I love you. Hey, good job. I love you. Hey, welcome. And I was like, okay with it. I was happy. It was crazy. I was happy. I'm hurting.
Yeah.
But I'm happy that now I'm part of them. Now I'm really.
Yeah. Isn't it crazy in our sin, in our worldliness, we can be thankful for a situation like that.
Yeah.
Looking back at that, doesn't seem crazy. Yeah. Why was I grateful that I just got beat up? Right? That's what we call the debased mind, right? The evil that's within us can convince us that was a good thing.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
And it was the attention that I was craving.
Yeah.
I was always craving the attention. And I didn't want it from I never got into sports, I never got into any of that. This was all I knew.
Yeah.
Right? And it started in South Central Los Angeles.
Yeah.
Right? With my cousins, and so now I'm part of it. So now there's no getting out of it. Now I remember going home, and how do I explain this to my mom? Big old black eye. And I just lied my butt off. I just lied to my mom. That's one of the things I regret, that I lied so much to this woman, right? To protect her. Obviously, I didn't want to tell her the truth,
right?
But
well, you protect her, but you wanted to keep doing the things you were doing.
Yeah.
And so we lie.
Yeah.
To keep doing the things we want to do.
Yeah.
It's a sad commentary, but we do that.
Yeah.
I think even now we can get caught in, even believers can get caught in that trap of loving our sin and lying about it to keep doing it.
Yeah.
So it's a caution to be on guard, even now.
I agree. No, I agree. And so now, again, I'm running the streets now. I'm literally running the streets with the homies.
Yep.
Not selling drugs, hanging out, parties. A lot of these guys are going to jail. I remember one of my really good friends that I grew up with. He's doing life in prison right now, and we were about the same age, and I remember, you know, my mom is that mom that, hey, if you don't got a place to stay, you're gonna come stay with us. And I remember my mom, he would stay with us because he had, it wasn't the great life at home. He had a whole bunch of siblings, and his mom and dad were like not always seeing eye to eye, and he didn't want to be around that, so he would use that as an excuse to come hang out with me. And so we would just like plot. Me and my little buddy would just plot. And like and like, what are we gonna do tomorrow? Hey, so I remember his name is Moses, right? And we were inseparable. We had a lot in common, with the gang, and I remember, he would tell me like, he goes, I wish I had what you have. And I'm like, what do you mean, man? Like, you have a home, your dad has nice cars, your mom had, she cooks for you every night. What do you mean? He goes, but when I come to your house, there's a peace. Like, I don't have to worry. And again, they were his dad. They were nice. They were good people, but they were just like, they were doing. They were very old school, And I remember his dad like whooping on him one day in front of me, like took his belt off and just whooped him.
Yeah.
And again, I didn't have that, right? My grandpa was the one that was doing that to me, but he was actually fearful to go home because he was afraid that his dad was gonna whoop him. And to me, it didn't make sense back then, right? Him telling me, "I wish I had what you have," right? But now it makes 100%.
Yeah.
Like, makes total sense. I did. My sisters loved me. My mom loved me, and even though my grandpa used to whoop me, he loved me. And I was. My house was like a safe place.
Yeah.
All the time for me, and my buddies, right? And so I started taking advantage of that. So now I'm having a whole bunch of friends come to my house, right? We're hanging out in the garage. We're hanging out in front of the house. And again, we went from teenagers, and we're getting older and older and older. And now, we're not just a bunch of teenagers smoking weed in the front of the house. Now we're a bunch of teenagers selling coke, selling meth, with guns in our pockets in front of my mom's house. It's getting serious.
Yeah.
We started getting in fights in front of my mom's house. It was too much.
Yeah.
And my mom, but my mom, I remember this is the way my mom was. She goes, look, it's Cinco de Mayo, I remember she said, and I forget what kind of holiday. We were going to ditch school. She goes, look, I want you guys to come hang out right here. At least I can know where you guys are at. Instead of you guys roaming the streets, you guys just hang out here. And so, she was enabling me at the same time.
Yeah. She was trying to protect you in her own way.
But it was not helping at all.
Yeah.
So now I'm taking advantage of it.
Yeah.
I'm taking advantage of it. And so my house became the safe house. My house became like, even though my mom was like not okay with it, my mom has a saying, right? If you come to my house and you leave my house hungry, you're stupid. There's always food here. So I remember my mom always feeding my friends, and hey, she knew him by name, and they knew her. They respected her. Doña Chana, they would call her.
Yeah.
And but again, I took advantage of that so much, and here, little by little, all my friends started committing crimes and getting caught. My best friend Moses, he's doing a life sentence for something that, I mean, he did it, right? But it was something so nowadays it's not even considered that bad. But back then, right, they were just trying to lock us all up. So I remember he was like 20 years old when he got a life sentence, maybe younger. But I remember once he was gone, I was kind of like left on my own again.
Yeah.
Everybody started going to prison, right? And that's how I know there's a God. And I'll tell you more about that later. But okay, so now I'm 17. I'm 17, and I meet a girl, right? I meet this girl, and she wasn't my type. I didn't like the way she looked. She was smoking a cigarette. First time I seen her, she was smoking a cigarette. I was like, ugh, right? And then she was totally like not the type of girl that I liked. But we had one thing in common, and it was drugs.
Mm.
And so we hung out a couple times. We did drugs a couple times, and then you know we started hanging out more and more and more. And she was also a gang member. So I mean, there's women gangs out there too. And one day she just tells me I'm having a baby. We're having a baby, and I'm like, "What do you mean we're having a baby? I'm 18." I'm like, "I'm a kid." She goes, "I'm pregnant," and I don't know what to do. I'm a gang member. I'm a drug addict. I'm a horrible person, and now I'm about to be a father. I was not equipped at all, and I was scared. My first thought was like, abortion clinic, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I remember telling my mom, and my mom said, "You ain't doing that. You're taking care of that baby."
Isn't it interesting? You said you said earlier none of the gang lifestyle, all the things you started seeing, none of that scared you.
Mm-hmm.
But when this happened,
Oh my
when
gosh.
when this girl turned up pregnant, it scared you.
Wow.
Isn't that interesting how one thing that you would think would scare the
Yeah.
life out of you
Yeah.
didn't. But then this heap of responsibility, right? The
Yeah.
realness of that terrified you.
Well, I didn't want to change. I don't want to give nothing up. No, I don't want to take care of nobody. So I did what I did what I thought was right. Right. So I remember, she moved in with us. We were just kids, literally. Like my mom says, okay, she's gonna move in with us. That didn't work out, right? Because again, I got 4 sisters, and my 4 sisters and her, it was just not working out. So we ended up moving in with her parents. Sorry, with her mom, and it was a very, very toxic relationship. Again, I'm a kid. I don't know what I'm doing.
Yeah.
She didn't know what she was doing, right? Love, right? We tossed the word love around. We didn't know what love was.
Yeah.
But she's pregnant. So I'm trying to do the right thing. But at the same time, I'm trying to also continue to hang out with my friends, do drugs. But I'm trying to be a good boyfriend over here and try to take her to these doctor's appointments and stuff. And so I remember the day my son was born. I'm 18. I was 18. And it was 2011. Sorry, it was 2001.
Mm-hmm.
2001. And he was supposed to be born on September 11th. And so I remember, again, my brother-in law got me a job because he goes, "Hey man, I know you're about to have a baby. I'm gonna get you this job." And so I went and worked with him, but I had the graveyard shift. And it was not just a regular grave. It was from 6 p.m. to 6 a.m.
Mm.
So it was
12-hour graveyard
graveyard.
shift. Yeah.
And I'm on meth. I'm methed out. So I remember going to work, doing my shift, and I get home around 7 a.m. And the mother of my son's ready. She's like, she got a bag. She goes, "We got to go." And I'm like, oh, God. I was freaking out. First of all, I hadn't slept. I'm on drugs. I'm dehydrated. I'm like freaking out. And she's calm, but I'm like freaking out. So we drive to the hospital, and I remember, the doctor looking at me, and the doctor, he knew something was wrong with me.
Yeah.
My wife, I mean, my girl was having this baby, but he knew something was wrong with me because he asked me, he goes, "Are you okay? Do you need to get some air? Do you need some?" They were like asking me all these questions. And I'm
Yeah.
like, "No, I'm good. I'm good." And then she's freaking out having this baby. And, childbirth is up there, like it made me respect women on a whole nother level. She's screaming, she's crying. The doctor's like telling her she's got to push. She don't want to push. I'm just like stuck. And I remember the doctor asking me, "Do you need some air?" And that's all I remember. All I remember, I went black. Everything went black. And I woke up. When I came to it, I was like in a little recliner. I passed out because I had been up for so long.
Yeah.
And this was just very, very intense. I passed out, and I woke up next to her, And you know, then the baby came out, and then I started smelling these different smells, and I remember I just vomited all over the place.
You're probably coming off drugs too. Like
It was crazy.
yeah.
And so now she's getting upset because now everybody's like paying attention to me, you know? And so, but then I remember getting up shaky, you know, and, but I see now this little body. I see this little body, you know, and you know, I'm scared.
Yeah.
I'm scared. Like this is real.
Yeah.
I'm scared. And I remember his grandmother grabbed my hand, and I'm shaking. I'm shaking, and she wanted me to cut the umbilical cord, you know?
Yeah.
And I remember I cut it, and I was just scared. Like I literally wanted to run away. I wanted to run out of there. And you know, this baby came into this horrible environment, you know. Father was a drug addict. I mean, the mom was a drug addict. You know, the grandma was, you know, an alcoholic, you know. And so um, you know, I remember the day I picked him up from the hospital, you know, it was 2 days later, and it was 9/11.
Hmm.
And I remember, you know, the planes and the towers.
Yeah.
And I was like, why is everybody freaking out right now? What's going on? Like, I'm still like in my own world. And I look at the news, and I'm like, wow, you know, that's crazy. But to me, it was like out of a movie. Like, yeah, right, you know?
Yeah.
And it was really happening though, right? I was like trying to, I was even scared, right? To take the baby anywhere. I was like, I think we should stay here. Uh, but taking the baby home, I remember just being scared, you know, being scared of, I didn't want to hold him. I didn't want to change him. I didn't want to do anything because I was just so scared of this little body, right?
Yeah.
And so, you know, this little boy, it was a boy, you know, it was a
Mhm.
boy. And of course, I named him after me. You know, that's just the way I was raised, right? You name your first after you, right? You know, they named my dad named me after him.
Yeah.
And, you know, but this little boy from birth started seeing all this negative stuff
Hmm.
and started hearing all this negative stuff. You know, me and his mom didn't stop doing drugs, right? We were drinking, smoking drugs. I was trying to work. Now I started going to jail. You know, I remember my first time going to jail. Uh, you know, let me back up a little bit. So her mom, she's like Filipina,
Hmm.
right? Her mom. And her mom pulled me to the side one day, and she goes, Jose, you don't let my daughter talk to you that way. I'm like, what do you mean? She goes, you need to show her that you're the man, right? And I'm guessing, well, that's the way she was probably raised, that lady, right?
Yeah.
And so one day, you know, me and her get in this argument, and this is the first time, like, you know, I'm just a kid. Remember this? I'm just a kid, and she says, "I hate you." She goes, "I hate you. I don't love you anymore." That's what this girl told me,
Yeah.
and my little heart just shattered, right? Because we just had a baby, and you know, and so all I remember was me remembering what the mom said, and I remember the mom being there in the hallway. And the mom's like, she grabs the kids, you know, because she had another baby too. She had like an older daughter, um, not my stepdaughter, but she had an older daughter. And she took the kids into another room, and I was like, okay, I think this is it. Like, I'm gonna show her who's boss, right? And by me showing her who's boss, it like got me a domestic violence, you know, because I'm just a kid. I didn't know how to deal with all these emotions and heartbreak, whatever you want to call it,
Right.
right?
And someone encouraging it.
Exactly. And so I thought it was okay. And I remember kind of blacking out a little bit. And when I came to it, I was like on top of her, and I was like hurting her. I was not slapping her. I was like hitting her like a man, you know? And I remember coming snapping out of it and getting off of her, going outside, and she's screaming at her mom, call the cops, call the cops. The mom was gone, no cops though. The mom's kind of looking at her like, that's what you get. And I remember going outside and I'm smoking a cigarette, and the mother of my son's on the phone with the cops, and she goes, "You're going to jail." And I was like, "Man, she's right. I'm going to jail right now because this is violent. She's bleeding. My hands are red." And I remember saying to myself, "Well, if I'm going to jail, I'm going to jail." And I went back in there and we started doing it again, right? And this time though, she was fighting back, right? She thought I was going to kill her. And I remember 18 years old, my newborn son, right? And I remember getting put in the back of a cop car, handcuffs, right? And this is the first time I ever got like in real trouble, got caught for anything. Where they're taking me to downtown, they're driving me downtown, and I'm just like thinking, like, man, what's gonna happen now, right? What about my baby, right? Not even thinking about her, right? She was like bleeding. The ambulance was there, and so I get to the jail in Stockton, and right away they put me in this holding cell, and I'm like, just this is all new to me, and I'm like waiting for somebody to come talk to me. Nobody would talk to me, and I'm like trying to ask questions. Nobody would talk to me, and so I remember them leaving me there all day, and then they finally moved me to a cell, and I'm still trying to talk to somebody though, like what's going on, what's gonna happen here, and you know I remember going to court, seeing seeing the mother of my child, uh, with the bruises, with the scars of what I have just done to her a couple days ago, and it was like I felt sick, like wow, like that's the mother of my kid. And I did that to her. Like the blood vessels in her eyes were red because of the trauma that I gave her. Bruised ribs, and they're reading off all these charges, and they're saying like great bodily injury, and they're talking about prison, and I'm like, what? Like we just got in this argument. I just hit her. Why am I going to prison? Right? I'm just a kid. I don't know what's going on. And so I remember, they offered me a deal, and I was like, I'm not going to take that deal. They wanted me to do some prison time or something because of the way that she presented herself in the courtroom. She was like hurt. And so, anyways, I remember they offered me a year, and I did the year. So here I am, my first time in jail. It wasn't for no shooting. It wasn't for no stabbing. It wasn't for no
Drugs.
It was for hitting the mother of your child, domestic violence, right?
When you saw her in that courtroom, did that? It sounds like it made an impact on you, but tell me, you know, what that, was that a moment of regret of starting to grapple with things, or
It made me, when I saw her like that. First of all, I was scared because I was like, oh man, I really hurt her. And then, but it didn't make me feel um, like changing anything, right? Because look at when I started my term, my year term in the county, guess who was the first person to visit me? She was. So she was. So like the restraining order got dropped. She started visiting me again. We were trying to work things out. I get out of jail 8 months later, and we moved back in together. And that was honestly the definition of insanity, right? Because nothing changed. We're still doing drugs. We're still smoking. We're still drinking, and we're still trying to make something work, but it was not working.
yeah,
And but now she wasn't taking no beatings. Now she's beating me up. She's fighting. She's fighting with me. She ran me over with the car one time. It was serious, right? And the whole time though, this little boy and this little girl are watching this.
mm.
I remember. One day this little girl, she used to call me. She used to call me dad, right? She was little. She was like 3. And I remember, finally, after all these years, right? Because we tried, we rented a home. I got a job. I was trying to do good, but I couldn't do it. I was just a kid.
Yeah.
And I remember, you know, I'm on top of her. We're fighting, and she's screaming to this little girl, "Call the cops! Call the cops! Go to the neighbor's house! Call the cops!" But she's looking at me with these tears, like, "What do? I don't want to call the cops on my dad, right?" And I said, "Don't call the cops. Don't go. Don't listen to her." And I just remember the look on this little girl's face of, "What do I do?" And that's when I was like, "Wow, we can't do this. We can't be doing this anymore." And then my son, he was still a baby, but I remember after that night, I told her, like, we can't do this anymore, because now, um, it's she's getting hurt, I'm getting hurt, the kids are getting hurt, right? But even then, like, we still kept trying and trying and trying. And again, this is what a toxic relationship is, right? I remember saying to myself, tomorrow's gonna be better. Tomorrow will be better, right? We argue, we fight, and then we go to sleep. Tomorrow will be better. We'll do a little drugs together. Tomorrow will be better. Before I knew it, 5, 6 years had gone by.
Yeah.
It's crazy. So now I'm in my 20s. I'm in my mid-20s, my early 20s. Nothing's changed. I'm still in the gangs. I'm still running the streets. I'm still now I'm she's still around, but now I'm cheating on her. I'm like with all these other girls, lying to her. And now my my son's in the car seat in the back of the car, right? And I'm smoking drugs in front of my son. And I remember another incident where we're driving. We left my mom's house in Modesto, and these rivals saw me, and they started following us. The mother of my son's driving. I'm in the passenger seat, and little Jose's in the back seat in the car seat, and he's on my side. And I remember these two guys. I remember driving right next to them, and we made eye contact, and they saw me, and I saw them, and they got in their car and they started following us. And I remember she started getting scared. I'm like, no, 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 go this way, go that way, go this way, go that way. Let's try to lose them. But they weren't, they were still on us. And I remember I finally told her, pull over, go this way, go that way, go this way. And then we pull up into this like little secret street or hidden street. And I get out of the car and I pull out 380, right? And I start shooting at this car, right? And even though, look, and I'll tell you right now, even though I had a gun, I used to fire this gun, I was always scared, right? And I remember the little shell casings, they were flying into the car, and one of them jumped in, like it got into the car and it bounced and it burned my son because he started crying. And I'm like looking for the shell, and it bounced off of him, and those things are hot.
Oh yeah.
And I remember getting so angry with her first, I'm getting angry with her, and I'm getting angry at this whole situation. And, that's when, again, it started opening up my eyes. Like, man, what am I doing? What am I doing? I just didn't know, but I didn't know what else to do.
Yeah. Thanks for listening to part 1. Just as a reminder, we drop new episodes every 2 weeks. So check back in for part 2.